If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
How's everybody doing? Nice hard one day here in Maine. Of course, we're going to pay for that come days, of course. As usual. Oh, so I went down to get some groceries down at the store here in Bangor, and I was walking through the aisles, and of course, my grocery store I go to, they rearranged everything in the damn store, so I have to constantly search up and down the aisles looking for what I'm trying to find, and because it's not where it used to be, and I hate when they do that. But anyway, I was in there, and I only needed to pick up a few things, so I didn't expect to be in there long. So I went in, and I was looking for some corn chips, and they have a Hannaford brand that's like $1.99. Well, wouldn't you know it, I went in there and they're sold out of that particular one. And I'm thinking, I looked at all the other bags of chips they got in there, and none of them were practically none of them were under $3 a bag. And I'm thinking half that bag is nothing but air. So, I'm kind of like shaking my head saying, look, this is ridiculous. And then, you look on the other side of the aisle and you see the vegetable chips, the healthy one, the healthy choice chips, and they're even more expensive. And I was like, why is it up to, to this day here, in this day and age, they haven't figured out yet that if you want people to eat healthy, you have to make it affordable for them to eat healthy, okay? It's like going to war with slingshots and bows and arrow against people who have tanks, machine guns, missiles, and stuff like that, and you expect them to win. Okay, you expect the people with the slingshots to win the war. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. Okay, that's kind of the same way when it comes to these health food. The country wants people to eat better. Okay. Because our obesity rates and our diabetes rates are through the friggin' roof, Okay, they're just out of control in this country. And now that everything is way more expensive, food has gone up, you know, and now people are resorting to buying the cheapest thing that's on the shelf, and that's usually some of the worst things that, you know, that you could eat. And so now you're going to see, you know, another rise in obesity, another rise in diabetes rates. You know, it's like, you know, haven't you learned yet? I mean, you know, if these companies that are trying to make health food can't compete with the companies that have been around making the same shit, then what's the point? You know, you're just digging up food and you're just, you know, throwing it out there, and you know, it's not contributing back enough to the country. You know, a healthy society makes a healthy country, and you can't do that if you make the other choice that's healthy, unattainable. Okay, because you're not making a fortune, you know, every year, an annual fortune. You know, why does people have to have that choice, you know, taken away from them? If they want to eat the other stuff, then, you know, give it to them. Let them have the damn stuff. I mean, you've got to be competitive. How are you going to bring down or control prices and stuff like that if you're not competitive? You know, these companies, these health food companies, have got to be competitive with the other brands out there, okay? If they can't do it, then don't even start until you can. Don't even start until you can. Because you're flooding the market with stuff that's just going to sit on the shelves and barely move, okay? And you're forcing people to pay way more than it's worth, okay, to eat healthy. So that's what, you know, I'm saying that's what they need to do. Take those friggin' health food options right the hell out of there, because they're never going to reach for that, especially in these times right now where everything's expensive. They're never going to go for that. So take all that stuff the hell out of the grocery stores, okay, and put on the shelf stuff that's, you know, competitive with the other brands. You know, why Hannaford or these other grocery stores do that, I don't know. I mean, they deliberately stock the shelves with things they know people aren't going to buy because they're 10 times more expensive than the other brands. So, yeah, it always irks me. And they tell you, oh, eat vegetables, eat, you know, wheat bread, and, you know, drink lots of water and stuff, and you know, stay away from the soda. Well, yeah, the soda's cheaper than the fucking water, guys. You know, the health food, healthy choice options are more expensive than the other brands. So forget it. You know, most people, if you aren't aware of it, are living on fixed incomes. They cannot afford to, you know, splurge on things that, you know, that are more expensive, because then they're not going to be able to buy as much. You know, that should be obvious to anybody. So I urge these health food companies to please, if you're going to sell stuff, be competitive. If you can't be competitive, you're wasting your time, you're wasting our time, because we can't afford your food, okay? You know, if the country wants us to get so fat we explode, then that's what's going to happen. I mean, if you guys want to see that happen, then keep on doing what you're doing. But if you want us to reach out and buy healthy foods, then you've got to bring your prices down. You've got to bring your prices down. Christ. At least be equal to the other guys, but don't be more expensive. Jesus, that's the last thing you want. Christ. Anyway, Alex Jones. Friggin' lying sack of shit that he is. Article here from the AP. This was published yesterday, and it's entitled "Sandy Hook Families Reject Alex Jones Settlement Offer." InfoWars host Alex Jones offered to pay $120,000 per plaintiff to resolve a lawsuit by relatives of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims who said he defamed them by asserting the massacre never happened, according to court filings on Tuesday. The offer was quickly rejected by the families. Yeah, no shit. A Connecticut judge found Jones liable for damages in November, and a trial is planned to determine how much he should pay the families. The plaintiffs said they have been subjected to harassment and death threats from Jones's followers because of the hoax conspiracy promoted on his show. The court filings posted online said, quote, Mr. Jones extends his heartfelt apology for any distress his remarks caused, unquote. If this was a guy who really cared about what his remarks led to, distress, then he wouldn't have said it in the first place, right? Accusing Sandy Hook of being a big friggin' hoax. He wouldn't have said it in the first place. But he says, oh, I apologize for the distress. No, he doesn't. He don't give two shits about the distress. That's the whole point. He said what he said on there just to rattle everybody's fucking cage, and now he didn't expect these people to come together and try to sue his ass, and now he's sorry. Okay. Last week, Jones defied a court order to attend a deposition near his home in Austin, Texas, to provide testimony ahead of the trial. Jones said he was ill. Yeah, I bet he was. A hearing is scheduled for Wednesday on a request by the plaintiffs to sanction Jones for not cooperating. Lawyers for the families rejected the settlement offer within a few hours, saying in court filings that it was a transparent and desperate attempt by Alex Jones to escape a public reckoning under oath with his deceitful, profit-driven campaign against the plaintiffs and the memory of their loved ones lost at Sandy Hook, unquote. 20 first graders and 6 educators were killed in 2012 shooting in Newton, Connecticut. The families of 8 of the victims and an FBI agent who responded to the school sued Jones, InfoWars, and others in Connecticut over the hoax conspiracy. Jones has said since he believes the shooting did occur. I bet he changed his tune awful friggin' quick. Jones was also found liable for damages in similar lawsuits filed in Texas by relatives of Sandy Hook victims, and also faces trial later this year. So, yeah, I mean, it's insane that we have people on the radio, on television, on the internet, who will take an incident like that and basically just run off at the mouth, creating this crazy story. And like I said, any person in this country can speak an opinion, and you're guaranteed to get at least 100 people that'll follow you on that, that'll believe it. Okay. Alex Jones obviously knows that. Okay, that's why he figures he could say whatever he wants, and he's going to keep people riveted to what he's got to say. And after a while, he builds up a fan base. Well, by doing that, he's put himself in the crosshairs of a lot of different people. And now he's going to have to pay the price. And, I say, people that talk like that on the radio, like in Fox News or these fly-by-night characters here like Alex Jones here, they really should be held over the fire for every damn thing they say, because if you don't stop them, they can really turn the country inside out. We all know this now. Okay, we had 4 years of a communist for a president. Okay, and you saw what that did to the country. I mean, we're still recovering from it, whether you want to believe it or not. We still are. The rest, we've wounded ourselves, our image-wise, to the world, and the world sees us as being unstable now. Okay, they see that hey, they might have a good president for a short time, and then they have a lunatic for the next. We never know which way the United States is going to be on any given day, because of the fact that they can't stand united on a goddamn thing. Okay, and that's true. I mean, because our democracy has set it up that way, where for 4 years we're doing this, and the next 4 years we're not. Okay, and then we do it again. How can you run a country with wishy-washy standards like that? Okay, you either stay on track or you don't. Running on both sides of the road is just going to get you into a hell of an accident. And we've had many accidents by running our country this way. And so when you have people like Alex Jones out there talking and taking advantage of when things are going the wrong way just for their own personal gain, that shouldn't be allowed. Okay, I feel like somebody has to step in, and I'm glad that they're suing his butt, but I think that we ought to learn from this guy and say, look, anytime we see somebody like that going on the air and talking about, oh, that's a hoax, this is a hoax, that's a hoax, cut that show off the air. Okay, get rid of it, because that's only going to stir more jaded views of America and make people more despondent. And we don't need that. It's bad enough right now as it is. Okay, we don't need to have more of that dumped in our water. So, oh yeah, and I noticed today they were saying that Bruce Willis, the actor, he has aphasia now, and he's stepping out from acting. So that's kind of sad, because I liked him as an actor. Didn't think much of his politics, but he was a good actor. But I think, what is he, like, what, 60, 68, 67? I don't know, he's somewhere like almost 70, but yeah, it's just, it happens, well, some people will get aphasia, and I think my girlfriend's grandmother had that towards the end, because she was like 20 years older than Bruce Willis, so it would be understandable when a person's that old, but 67, I mean, he's really not old, okay, but he's too young to get this right now. I don't know if they have some kind of treatment for that. Maybe they do. I never heard of anything that could actually reverse that, so I don't know, but it's sad to see, because like I said, he still had, I thought, health-wise, he'd still have a few more movies to put out. But I noticed lately he's been acting a lot in these B movies now. If you look on the streaming services like Netflix, or is it Amazon Prime, he's in a number of movies that are what you consider like Godzilla kind of movies, things, well, I mean, not like monster movies, but in the quality of Godzilla. He acted in a lot of those, and he's like the only actor that you would know. Everybody else is like, green actors, and but he's been doing that lately. So I thought maybe that's probably why he's been doing that, because it probably maybe because of his aphasia or something, he's having a hard time doing his job, so he's taking up these other roles in smaller films and stuff, or maybe to earn more money, because I don't know. But I wish him and his family all the strength they're going to need to get through it. But yeah, it's sad, because like I said, he's one of my favorite actors, and he got just about every damn movie he acted in. That's the thing. I even have Moonlighting, this TV show that he was on there with Sybil Shepherd, and he was like in his early 30s and he just exploded after that show went off the air. I mean, Jesus, he just went into all kinds of films after that, so anyway, to move on here, yeah, Laura Logan said today that she was glad she was dumped by Fox News. Well, here's the thing. Laura Logan, whom I remembered from when she first started on CBS and everything, and she was doing investigative report. Nobody that goes onto a news station has to compromise their honesty for that company. Okay, she did so because it's for the money, just like all the other people that go on Fox News and do what they do. It's for the money, which means they can be bought. If you tell that person, lie about this, and we'll pay you, yeah, of course they're going to do it. Okay, that right there is the problem, and she's saying that she was glad to have avoided the taint of the network's pro-Ukraine coverage while they were doing the vaccine conspiracies and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, you know, like I said, nobody has to force a reporter to compromise their ability to do what they're supposed to do, what they're to go to school for. Okay? If she didn't feel like she could be honest, then why didn't she just quit? Okay? She could have quit sooner. She got into that news network when everybody knew what it was all about. Lies, lies, lies. Knowing that history, why did she even go to them in the first place to get a job? Okay? Why? That's the question I got. Is it because she ruined her own credibility with some, you know, in such a way that nobody else wanted her? I don't know. Her conservative views certainly came through loud and clear on Fox, and I think that ruined her credibility every night. But I noticed that, you know, she wasn't on there too long, and then she just disappeared. So I'm wondering if there was something else about that you know, that sparked that shit, you know. So I don't know. But like I said, it's like I said, when you go on and you say, thank God, you know, I was dumped by, you know, it's like, no, you could have left Fox. You didn't have to wait for Fox to dump you. You could have left them anytime you wanted and said, look, I don't agree with the way you guys are running things here, and it runs contrary to what I do. I'm out of here, okay? Fuck you all. You know, that's what I'd have done. I wouldn't have been forced to feel like I had to do this, you know, to follow my sword every night. No. So that I find that a little bit strange that she would say that, knowing that all along she could have just walked right out. You know, she could have walked right out. So, and I see here that Chris Wallace blames his father in 60 Minutes for the current distrust of the media today. And that kind of set me back. And I'm like, well, why would you think that? Because those years where Mike Wallace was on 60 Minutes, I think most people in America thought the show was great. That it was hard-hitting, and they got the truth, you know, a lot of times from people. They got the insider gossip, you know, of what was really done or something. You know, the 60 Minutes show today isn't really the same quality, is it? Because I mean, once in a while I watch it, but it's lacking, I think, in what it used to be. But you know, Mike Wallace, rather. I'm sorry, Mike Wallace, and you know the others that were on the 60 Minutes. I mean, they had high viewership. Okay, when they were on every Sunday they'd be on. They would get high viewers, a lot of viewers on their station. But that's because there was only the big 3-4 networks, and that was it. But people really tuned into that if they wanted to find out the truth about what was going on in their country or something. So I don't see that would be where that started. I don't know why Chris would say that about his father, okay? But I think there's been some history said that, you know, he and his father weren't quite close. I mean, so that might be a little bit of a tainted view of his own past with his father. So I question, you know, his opinion of that thing. So I just, you know, I felt like, you know, Chris, you've been on Fox you were on Fox too long, okay? You were on that station. You took the complete other side of what your father was, and you know, you spent all that time on Fox News spewing their fucking gossip and taking their money and doing it again, and now you're saying, oh, it's because of my father that, you know, no, it's not. It's because of Fox News, the company that you were with initially at the beginning. That's what ruined the fucking media, okay? When people started to get their way on being extreme right-wingers and getting radio time and TV time, they worked the system for 20 years. Okay, it started in the 80s and it went 20 years, and at the end of that 20 years, we got this country that doesn't believe that a man won a presidency. Okay, we got a country that doesn't even that a lot of people don't believe that Sandy Hook was real. Okay, these are the things that's ruined, the news media, and why we have to have stations that are supposed to be Democrat and stations that are Republican. We can't even come together to hear the truth anymore because everybody thinks everybody else is lying to you. I mean, I get that all the time on these chat sites when I'm talking to people, and I say where I get my news, and right off the bat, that's a liberal outfit, or that's just it's like, so everything you watch is supposed to be fair and balanced, right? You tell me you heard a source from Fox News that said this and that, and you're going to make that credible because you heard it on Fox. But I'm telling you, I don't trust Fox because I know they lie. But if I tell you where I hear my stuff, you're going to say the exact same thing to me, that you don't trust my source and they lie. So, how when you got a country this polarized, how the hell are you ever going to get people to believe the truth anymore? And in a climate like that, does the truth even really matter anymore? Okay? When people are going to make up in their own heads what really happened. Okay? They still think that this friggin' debacle here of the election, when we got rid of communist Trump here, they still say he was cheated out of a victory. They still say it. Okay, maybe not as many now, but there's still people out there that do. And like I said, they're not going to believe information that comes from another place that contradicts what they've already read from one outfit. No, they don't. These people don't browse the headlines, don't go through the different variations of news outlets. They don't spend time doing that. They just go right for what they know, and that's it. And they parrot that to each other to reaffirm that what they heard was true. So, like I said, I think Chris Wallace, we can't really trust that he's telling us a very, balanced view of his father, because, like I said, he and his father were not that as close as, you'd think they would have been. And politically, I think he's the opposite of his dad, so, Okay, let's go ahead and have a commercial break. We'll be back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us. This is your chance to do something good.
В Вашингтоне сказали вам, что ваш патриотический долг ненавидеть Владимира Путина. Многие американцы подчинились этой директиве. Ненависть к Путину стала центральной целью внешней политики Америки. Очень скоро эта ненависть может привести США к конфликту в Восточной Европе.
Почти так же, как военнослужащий ВСУ на репортера Fox News, на своих коллег срывается ведущий этого канала Такер Карлсон, а заодно и на всю администрацию Байдена.
Какие же мерзкие эти люди. И, конечно же, они продвигают войну, а не поддержку демократии. Украина не демократия, никогда ею не была. Это сателлит администрации Байдена.
So what is NATO, and what is the purpose of NATO since the fall of the Soviet Union 30 years ago that NATO was designed as a bulwark against? Well, no one can answer that question, not one person. Imagine how we would feel if Mexico and Canada became satellites of China. Why do I care what's going on in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And I'm serious. Why do I care? And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
There's a certain feeling you get right after a foamy shave, when your mirror tells you you're gonna look like Mr. Terrific all day. That's the foamy feeling. And it comes from that clean, close, foamy shave. Come on, get Gillette Foamy. It's the only way to get that foamy feeling.
It's no problem getting the redness out of my eyes. All these drops work just fine. They all soothe and clear my eyes. The problem is getting the drops in. So for me, it's Akisol, because Akisol's little nose bridge makes it easy. It helps steady my hand, so, ta-da, feels nice. The big difference in eye drops is Akisol's little nose bridge, because you can't get the redness out till you get the drops in.
When American Motors introduced the Gremlin, people found out that it doesn't cost a lot of money to own a car that's fun to drive. The idea has spread all over the country. The Albuquerque 8. The Wichita Wiggle. Tallahassee Two-Step. The Boston Bounce. The Chicago Shuffle. Six months ago, coming out with a car the size and price of the Gremlin was a gamble, but American Motors took it. If you had to compete with the three biggest car companies in America, what would you?
It's the one on your mind. It's the one of a kind. A Milky Way bar wherever you are. Real milk chocolate. Chewy caramel. Luscious nougat. So wherever you're going, you're never outgrowing your love for the taste of a Milky Way. At work, rest or play. Milky Way, Milky Way.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, so situation here in Ukraine. It didn't shock anybody that Putin wasn't really interested in talking with Zelensky over the president of Ukraine about a possible ceasefire or working out some kind of an agreement, or something. I know we've heard a lot of talk about that, but I was thinking, it seemed too soon for Putin to come to the table or something like that. He hasn't taken enough of a beating yet for him to give in. So I kind of had a gut feeling that, he's either going to come and he's not going to agree to anything and they'll just split, or this is a ploy. And apparently it's a ploy. And why he's doing this is because he's suffered a lot of losses in his military. They figure he's lost, more than 17,000 troops already, and a lot of equipment. And so he's sort of, trying to regroup, as it were, and he wants to rotate his forces out, bringing in new troops and taking out some of the the less experienced ones. I mean, it was made up almost of conscripts, his military, and he's thinking that they're not fighting hard enough or something, so he wants to put in better troops. So like I said, this is something that's going to go on and on and on and on and on. Okay, I mean, this is never going to stop. And Ukraine is they're fighting. I mean, they're fighting hard, and they're getting all kinds of equipment from NATO forces and stuff like that, and countries. They're getting all kinds of aid, and it has to be that's really helping them to stalemate the Russians. You know, and then neither side is really gaining, you know, much ground either way, but they're giving as well as they get. And so, you know, people are trying to figure out, you know, just how bad Putin's got it. But, you know, like I said, he's playing this game. You know, he sent over some people that were pretending to be, you know, ambassadors or something, and they weren't. They were just people that were in their agriculture department or something like that he sent to, you know, stall, basically, to give Putin time to reorganize and regroup his military. And so now they're back at it again, and Ukraine, excuse me, Ukraine is trying to go on the offensive here. And then this article had come out, it's entitled, Ukraine appears to have begun shelling Russian territories. It's trying to take the fight to the Russian territory, a new development in what has been a primarily defensive war for Ukraine. Russian authorities were forced to place 2 villages under emergency orders and evacuate some citizens due to Ukrainian shelling in the area, according to reports from multiple Russian media outlets. Yeah, according to reports from multiple Russian media outlets. Okay, right off the bat, you have to wonder: is that true, or is that more lies? You know, just. I mean, we could probably figure that, you know, it could be the Russians themselves, you know, shelling their own people and then saying, "Oh, see, look what Ukraine just did." You know, if it's in their territory. I mean, because as far as I know, Ukraine doesn't seem to have the momentum yet to go into Russia. Okay, it seems to me like they're kind of stuck inside their country right now. They're not gaining so much as they are holding their ground. So. When I saw the story coming out saying, "Oh, the Ukrainians are going on the offensive," I was like, "Really?" I didn't think that the Ukrainian people were doing that well. I mean, because by all accounts, they're just holding on to what they got and by their fingernails, that, you know. But now this story comes out, and they're saying that, oh, according to Russian media outlets, and you know, the thing about the Russian media outlets is that those media sources are there only for the people in Russia to watch, okay? Because Putin doesn't want the real facts to get known to their people, that, you know, oh, it's us, we instigated this fight. We are the ones that went and invaded that country. We're the ones that are bombing and killing children, hospitals, and, you know, whatnot. We're doing all that. He doesn't want them to know that, okay? Because he knows that it's going to cause a huge, you know, uprising in his country. He knows he's doing wrong, okay? So, you know, his media outlets are going to tell the exact opposite of the story. They're going to put all the blame on Ukraine and saying, "Oh, well, Ukraine's being run by a bunch of Nazis now. They're saying they want to come and invade Russia," you know, and the people in Russia are so spun by the lie. They're worse than the Trump people. You know, they actually really a lot of them actually believe that Ukraine, you know, is to blame. Okay, and yet there are some Russians that know that they can't trust their own media outlet. They know that they've been lied to before, and most likely they're being lied to again. So, you know, it's a funny thing that you see the exact same thing happening in this country. We're a democracy. That's going on in their country, which is communist. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me. I mean, do you think that we've drifted too far away from democracy in America? Come on. You know, I think that's a good guidepost to see just where our country's standing right now, and it doesn't look good, because now we got media outlets lying to us, as well as media outlets telling us the truth, and then on the same end, they got media outlets that were doing the same thing there until Putin shut the door and told the outside media places, you can't broadcast here anymore. Stay the hell out of Russia. So the only people they can listen to are the liars. Okay, we haven't done that yet here, but you know, I would see the time coming that it will happen. You know, some idiot will get in there as president, and before you know it, the sources that we all depend on to get the facts are going to be silent. And the only people that are going to be left to listen to are your bullshit liars, you know, from Fox News and whatnot. So, you know, I feel like this is, you know, this is a good indication, a good guidepost, if you will, of where you want to see where America is at this point. You compare what we're doing here to what's going on in Russia. We're not too far apart, okay? And we have different forms of government, and yet here we are. So how did we get here? And Romney, you know, I don't know how to take Romney these days. All of a sudden now he's saying things that I agree with, and I don't like that. Okay, because I know what this sack of shit is. Okay, and today he said something that resonates true with me, but I don't want to take his side, okay? Because I know where he comes from, okay? He's a vulture economist, okay? And I don't, you know, I can't forget that when he was running for president, a lot of shit came out about him that I did not like, okay? And you know, he's the one that come up with the, you know, corporations or people, you know, that bullshit. So, but today he said something here, and this is the title to this story is a quote what he said. NATO would rethink U.S. relationship if Trump wins in 2024. Now, I would think the only reason why he's going to say that is maybe he and Trump aren't really that, you know, friendly. Okay, they're both businessmen. Okay, and they both come from what I call the dark world of business. And they both done some pretty nasty shit. And I imagine they were competitors in a lot of things. So for Romney to come out and say this, which a lot of Democrats have been saying, is like, you know, why is a Republican echoing Democrat thought here? I mean, this, you know, this is totally out of character for Romney, and like I said, I don't like agreeing with what he said on anything, because he's lately been trying to sound like a Democrat, but I fucking know that if you became president, the rich would get more tax breaks and the poor would have to suffer some more. You know, I just know that's what it'll be. He's not an angel. He's not a you know, the white knight there in this shit. And the article says Senator Mitt Romney from Utah said in a CNN interview that if former President Trump won the 2024 election, the NATO alliance would be significantly damaged. Romney, the 2012 GOP presidential nominee, said NATO members would wonder whether they could continue to count on the United States. Well, that's that wishy-washy thing I was talking about before, okay? Countries look at the United States as being, you know, unhinged. Okay, they can't know from one minute to the next where we stand on anything, because it all depends on who the president is. And if the president is changing seats all the fucking time, how the hell can we possibly hold ourselves to a standard if the standard is always shifting from one spot to the next? You know, like when we had the agreement with Japan, you know, for the climate change thing. You know, one minute we're in the accords and the next minute we're not. Okay, and it's like, you know, either you commit the country to this or you don't. Stay the hell out of the way. If you're not going to be in this thing, then don't fucking be part of it. You know. Quote, if he were to come back as the president, I think it would represent a pretty dramatic departure for the world, and they would rethink whether they can count on the United States to lead NATO, to lead other nations as they push back against China and Russia, unquote. So, yeah, like I said, what he's saying there has been said by a lot of Democrats who don't want to see Trump win again. because they know that if he does run and win the presidency, that it would put us back on unfriendly footing with the rest of the world. Okay, they would close their communications off with us, because they don't want to talk to Trump. Okay, they're not going to talk to him. They know what he is. Okay, they've been watching the news about Trump's scandals here, just like the rest of us, so they know what he's into. Okay, and if we put him back in the White House, I mean, it's going to do damage that a lot of us don't even realize. Okay, and it might appease the 30% in this country that love the shit out of him, but the rest of us are going to be really, really pissed. Okay, if he ever runs and wins for another term. That's why, I'm hoping that as more shit comes out about him and right now, that it would be enough to discredit him and basically bar him from running for any political office. I can't see how you could allow that to take place when you got a man with as dark a background as Trump to go and run for president and win that seat. We're not supposed to put criminals in the White House, right? But they become criminals when they're in there, nonetheless. But if it's known to everybody that, yeah, this guy did some bullshit, that a lot of stuff is treasonous, he shouldn't be running for the White House. Okay, he shouldn't be running for the White House, and anyone that supports him running for that, they're also treasonous. Okay, it'd be no different if Hitler moved into the United States and decided, oh, I'm gonna run for president of the U.S., and a lot of people back him. Well, you're not only going to condemn Hitler, you're going to condemn the whole damn bunch of them, because they're all committing treason. The guy's a war criminal, and you wouldn't want him in there. Okay? We got to have standards. We got to have rules that we follow here to protect our country. I mean, if you don't want to protect the country, then go ahead and put these fucking people in there. And I guarantee you, in less than 30 years, you're going to have a country that's completely a mirror image of Russia. Okay? And the rest, and you all will be crying your eyes out. How do we get here? How do we get here? Okay? Keep doing what you're doing. But, but if you want to try and do the right thing like you're supposed to, okay, then this guy would be an absolute no-no. Okay? No matter what he tells you or promises you, it's all a lie. Okay? He's got his own friggin' agenda. He had it when he went in there the first time. He didn't have enough time to execute a lot of it. But he's going to try and do it, if he can get in there. So... And finally, this article here come out from the Daily Beast, written by Allison Quinn, entitled, "They'll Give Me a Medal, the Dark Reality of Russian Troops' Alleged War Crimes of Rape." Amid mounting evidence of Russian war crimes in Ukraine, a young Ukrainian mother is speaking out about what may be the first rape case connected to the 2022 invasion to go before The Hague. She says she was repeatedly raped by Russian soldiers while her 4-year-old son sat just a few feet away. In an interview with the Times of London published Tuesday, the woman, identified only by the pseudonym Natalia, says she still has not been able to bring herself to tell her son that his father was murdered by the Russian soldiers. Quote, "We cannot bury him. We can't get to the village because the village is still occupied," unquote. The 33-year-old mother said of the family's home in Brovary, a suburb of Kyiv. It was there that, she says, Russian soldiers arrived on the morning of March 9th, and despite a white sheet hanging from the family's home to indicate there were no military targets, they killed the family's dog before gunning down Natalia's husband a few hours later. Quote, "I heard a single shot, the sounds of the gate opening, and then the sound of footsteps in the house," unquote. She was quoted telling the Times, quote, "I cried out, 'Where is my husband?' Then I looked outside and I saw him on the ground by the gate. This younger guy pulled a gun to my head and said, 'I shot your husband because he's a Nazi,' unquote." You see? Lies. After that, she said things became only more harrowing. While her son sat sheltering in a dark boiler room at the home, the soldiers set their sights on her. Quote, "One of the Russian soldiers said, 'You better shut up or I'll get your child and show him his mother's brains spread around the house,' unquote," she said. Quote, he told me to take my clothes off, then they both raped me one after the other. They didn't care that my son was in the boiler room crying. They told me to go shut him up and come back. All the time they held the gun to my head and taunted me, saying, how do you think she sucks it? Shall we kill her or keep her alive? Unquote. They brutalized her again less than a half hour later. She said she and her son managed to flee when both the soldiers got so drunk they passed out. Quote, while I was opening the gate, my son was standing next to his father's body, but it was dark and he did not understand it was his father. He said, will we get shot the same as this man here? Unquote, she said. Ukraine's Prosecutor General Irina Venedikova announced last week that Ukrainian authorities had identified one of Natalia's rapists and that a warrant was out for his arrest. We will find, quote, we will find every villain and make him answer to the fullest extent of the law, unquote. He wrote on Facebook. Natalia said the Russian commander who raped her had introduced himself to her by name, and she later managed to track him down on social media. There are unconfirmed rumors that he was ultimately killed by Ukrainian forces, but she said, quote, I still do not know for sure if it's true, unquote. While Natalia's story stands out because she was able to identify one of her attackers, reports of rape by Russian marauders have multiplied since the Kremlin launched its all-out war against Ukraine on February the 24th. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has said he intends to bring such cases before the International Criminal Court. And while evidence of such wartime rapes is typically difficult to collect, Ukrainian authorities say Russian troops have openly talked about systemic rape in intercepted phone calls. Ukraine's security service released audio this past week of a man it identifies as a Russian soldier telling a female acquaintance about troops killing civilians and preying on women in an occupied village. Quote, the guys in the neighboring village raped a grown woman and a 16-year-old girl, unquote, he said. Authorities did not reveal where the Russian soldier captured in the recording was based. In another audio clip shared earlier this month by Anton Gerashkino, an advisor to Ukraine's interior minister, a man identified as a Russian soldier laughingly tells a friend about one of his comrades boasting about executing civilians and committing rapes. Quote, and they will give me a medal for that, unquote. He recalled the soldier joking. So it was only a matter of time before these things started to happen. Almost, I think in every war, you get reports like this. A lot of them get swept under the rug because they don't want the public to hear about it, especially if it involves their military forces. They don't want to be looked at as the bad guy. Like, you know, in Vietnam, a lot of things like that came out long after the war was done, or after we left Vietnam. And it showed a lot of things that, you know, our military had done there, which were pretty brutal to the Vietnamese. But, you know, they wouldn't report that, okay, because at the time, you know, it was so crucial that, you know, they had support from the United States, you know, to keep this thing going. You know, it was bad press, okay, bad press. And so we know that no one's Snow White here when it comes to war crimes during war. I mean, you're always going to have a few soldiers on either side that are going to cross the line and do something. My question here on this is that if this is a Russian soldier that did it, how are they expected, if this guy isn't dead, how are they expecting to arrest somebody from another military if they're at war? I mean, what authority do you have to go over there and arrest this guy? They'll shoot you on sight if if they see you coming over there with handcuffs, you're dead, okay? Because you're the enemy. So I find it, you know, unlikely that if this guy is still alive and fighting over there, that they could actually just go over there and have him arrested, because they're not going to let somebody arrest one of their men and they'll just shoot you, okay? they'll just say, oh, well, you're making up these charges, and if you don't turn around and leave, or they probably wouldn't even give them that choice. They'll just say, you know, you're you know, the enemy, and you're dead. You know, they'll just take you off to be shot, you know, publicly, and that's it. So I would like to see somebody try to arrest this guy if he's still alive, because it's not going to happen. You know. And Putin certainly isn't going to allow his military to be subjected to outside law, no matter who it's coming from. Okay, I mean, he's already thumbing his nose up at you know, the United Nations, and committing war crimes like you wouldn't believe. Okay, and it's just when you're talking about arresting somebody from the other side, from the enemy side, it's like, good luck with that. You know, you're going to have to bring the army that's already fighting over there to go get this guy, but you're not going to get him and arrest him. You're not just going to walk across the line and say, hold your fire, buddy, I have to do an arrest here. You know, it's not the way it works. That's dreaming, okay? And Putin's certainly not going to allow that to happen, because, you know, that would be considered, you know, wherever this guy's from, that country would be shelled the day after, you know, because they would answer for that in kind. So a case like this would only happen if Russia loses this fight, and they're put under some kind of, you know, penance or whatever you want to call it, a treaty where they have to abide by international law, okay, which Putin is not going to let happen, okay. But the fact that, you know, that this happened is, you know, it should be obvious to anyone who stayed behind in Ukraine, and there are many who haven't left Ukraine. They're sort of more or less in the middle of the country, you know, biding their time, hoping that it'll blow over. A lot of them are women that haven't left. They just stay, okay? You know, they could be the next victims of this shit, you know? It's not safe. When your president tells you you need to flee, okay, because it's gonna get pretty hot in this country there for a while. He's not bullshitting you, okay? He's telling you, and you know, the best way possible to pack your shit and get, because we're going to war here, and we don't want to be responsible for innocent people getting into the way of the crossfire, okay? So you're you know, just go, flee, whatever, just get the hell out of Dodge, and we're going to take care of it. You know, that's basically what their president was telling the people, and a lot of them did leave, but a lot of them stayed, okay? A lot of them stayed, and a lot of the ones that stayed have been killed already in the crossfire of the fight. That's why this happened here with this girl. She probably stayed figuring that, you know, she could ride this thing out. You know, my idea about about what they're doing is like, well, look, if you stay and you ride this out and Russia wins, guess what? You're going to be under Russian occupation, and what freedoms you thought you had before are going to be gone. You're going to be now a subject of the state. But if you leave, then you won't get in the way of any firing and stuff like that. You know, you're not going to be hit by a stray bullet or some damn thing. You're going to probably protect your life better that way, and you won't be trapped behind enemy lines, okay, and unable to flee if you find yourself in the Russian side of the things, okay? You certainly don't want to be there for that either, because when you do that, you won't be able to get any messages sent out to anywhere, because they'll shut down your internet, they'll shut down your power and everything, because Putin's controlling or is trying to control all the power plants in Ukraine, so that way he can, you know, force these people out of the country, you know, so he can take it over. But like I said, you know, he may not have to bother with that if all these people would just leave. You know, he wouldn't bother. But you know, like I had mentioned before in another video, these people, they love their country. They don't want to leave it, and a lot of them can't leave it, because you know, if you make yourself a refugee into another country, you lose your home. Okay, that home gets taken away from you. Now it becomes, you know, you don't own it. If you own a house and you leave that country and you sign up as a refugee, then everything that you had in that country is no longer yours anymore. And so you're stuck being homeless, basically, until you can find a home. But a lot of these people who worked hard and bought a house or built one, they, for some reasons, you know, for some of these people, they don't want to leave that house. They don't want to be a refugee and lose it, you know. And that's why a lot of them are staying, I think, is they don't want to leave the home that they spent a lot of money to have, and just turn around and lose it because they sign a piece of paper saying we're a refugee now. Because that's what's happening to a lot of people, you know, that are fleeing Ukraine, is they've left behind everything they owned, and all they got left is what they carry in their bags. So it's sad, but you know, that's the kind of that's a catch-22, I guess, if you want to call it, to wanting to be a refugee, is what you once had is no longer yours. It stays in the country, so it becomes that property returned back to them. It's pretty shitty, but in a way, if the house gets destroyed in the fight, I mean, it's not going to be worth anything anyway, right? So I mean, it's just it's sad, you know. It's not an easy decision for a lot of people to make, to just uproot yourself and go live in another country. From what I understand, a lot of people in Germany aren't too happy with having these people from Ukraine there. I got this from one of my friends that's in Georgia, not Georgia, United States, but Georgia, Russia, you know, what, off of Russia. They're kind of camped out there for now. They're supposed to stay there, I think just 1 month, I think, was there only, they put them up in a really nice hotel apartment kind of a place where they got a kitchen inside the room. And it's really nice because they sent me some pictures of the area, and it's really beautiful vista to look out. And they're like in a 20-floor apartment building. But it's free to them for only a month, and after that they have to leave. And it's a $2,000 a month room that they're in. Okay, and what he told me was that it was recently built. So it's a brand new building, and it looks brand new from the, you know, the live videos. I mean, him and I are talking. So it's really a nice room that these people were put up in. But he said that he was talking to his friends that were refugees. Now they're in Germany, and the German people, some of them are giving them some lip over there, getting angry that they're there. And I'm thinking, Christ, I mean, it's like, you know, these German people, you know, when I was there in Germany, I didn't get so much of that when I was there. I don't really recall any Germans kind of giving me a, you know, that, you know, what are you doing here? You know, that kind of look. But it seems like, you know, they're back at doing that again. You know, they don't like outsiders in their country, I guess. And so that's what he said. What he heard from his friend was that, you know, some places they've been going to, they kind of give them a little bit of a hassle when they pay for something at a convenience store or something like that. They get a little bit of a, you know, an attitude or something from these people. So I don't know. And then there was one person that, you know, how do I know you're not a Russian instead of Ukrainian? I want to see your passport or something like that. You know, they get the third degree right up front. You know, because because the Ukrainians and Russians, when they speak, it almost sounds identical. So they think that some of these people are Russians, you know, and so they don't trust them. Okay. I don't know where they get that from, but that's what he told me. That his friend was telling him was that they've been getting a little bit of a, you know, snub here and there. So anyway, when they become refugees, yes, they lose everything they had. They can't go back and reclaim it. Okay, once it's gone, it's gone. So I don't know when these people are going to be able to go back. It may not be anytime soon, but it's going to be a whole different world when they return if they get to return. Who knows? All right, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Please subscribe and comment, and keep your ears open for any local COVID-19 news. And I will talk to you again later, so be well.